Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Real People, Real Life, and Real Answer. Nancy and I are here. We're excited to be back, and the way this works is you guys send in some questions, and we open a card that has the question inside, and then we just respond, from our hearts, and we talk about what you ask and try to give the best answer we can. And hopefully you can take away something that's useful from it, and it'll help you out in some way. So today we've got a card that's been given to us. We don't know what's on this thing. Nope. We're going to give it a shot, and it's always a little nerve-wracking, when you're a little bit when you're getting ready to do this. But I'm going to open the card, unless you want to do it.
I'm going to let you do it.
All right. Well, here it is.
Okay.
What has been the toughest season and favorite season of ministry? And do you wonder what life would be like had you never gone into ministry? And then it says, as a follow-up, maybe what advice would you give young leaders and pastors trying to protect their family time? What is priority, family or ministry? Mm-hmm. So let's start, I guess, with the first part there. It says, what has been the toughest? Let's talk about the toughest first season of ministry. I'll let you start. What's the toughest part of all this?
Well, what comes to mind, the toughest part was not knowing what we were doing. When we first started out, that was tough, just navigating everything and just having to rely on God for everything. That was the toughest part, and questioning ourselves every week. Was this what we were supposed to be doing? Especially when we would try something and it failed, and and it was just basically me, you, Gary, Stacy, and our families. So we didn't have any help. We had to do everything, and that was tough. I mean, I think I questioned it every day of my life. Is this what we were supposed to be doing? Then when you start seeing success stories and people getting saved and that kind of thing, that it got better.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, and I don't know if I'm addressing this question correctly, but that stands out to me as the toughest time of our life because it was all new.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that for me it was and I think I know what you're saying. I don't think it was is this what we're supposed to be doing? I think it was more of, is this how we're supposed to be doing it?
I think I did. Is this
what?
Yeah. What have we done?
Yeah, our whole lives changed.
Our whole lives changed.
So that was tough.
Yeah, that was very
tough. And there were days along the road, all along the road where, when you're planting a church and it's new, and you're just winging it a lot, and you're wondering, at some days, did God really call me to do this?
Right.
You're a little bit scared, and that was a tough time.
Right,
that was tough.
And it's like you want everything to fall into place. It's like, okay, hey, we're doing this, so now, Lord, you come in and you make it perfect. Yeah. Well, you don't grow when that happens. You pray for things to happen. You pray for us to be able to add a staff member or someone to help us. You pray for someone to come in and clean the bathrooms like we had to do. We just had to do everything. But that's when your faith grows, when you are on your knees about, Lord, we're surrendering. So you got to come alongside of us and help us. And, of course, he did.
Yeah.
He did in a huge way.
Yeah. It's kind of hard for me when I think about what is the toughest part, because I think through all these years, there have been tough seasons.
Right.
And there have been times, as the church has grown, there was a time when we grew really rapidly. We more than doubled in size in a 3-week period of time one time, and we didn't have the staff to cover everything that we were doing. That was crazy. I mean, we were running around. One time we were moving into a new facility, and there was someone in the church that was a contractor, and we shook hands and on an agreement to do the work for the church and all, and that person spent all of our money and didn't do what they were supposed to do, and we ended up having to get an attorney, and we were literally sitting in a room with Post-it notes every week trying to figure out how to pay creditors and calling people and saying, can we pay half of this or half of that? And it was the most stressful time ever. But God brought us through that,
Right.
and we got through it, and that was a tough time.
Right.
And
That, I would say, if we had to pick a number one thing, that was it.
yeah,
Yeah. That's probably the only time I've ever seen you physically break down.
Yeah,
Physically break down over that. That was a tough season.
Yeah.
And, just like every season you go through, that's tough like that and hard. We saw God at work in a big way. He just came in, which he didn't come in. He was always there. But he brought us through that in a big, big, big way. But man,
that was, now I'm thinking
That
about it, that was probably the
was-
toughest season because we had,
was hard.
Spent all the money that we had budgeted. We had already leased a new space, and the person spent all the money and never got one draw inspection improved on the construction,
Right.
and then started asking for more money, and we were paying rent on 2 places, and I was trying to figure out, well, are we going to get a paycheck next week
Right.
or not get a paycheck? And we were stressed, and then we had staff, and it's like, can we pay this? Can we pay the staff? Well, yes, I'm going to pay the staff, and I'm not going to take a paycheck if that's what
Right.
it comes down to.
Right.
And so there were some tears shed during that time. That was one of the toughest times in ministry. But there have been a lot of tough times, but that was probably one of the most stressful. You're right, that was. And in the very beginning, it was stressful just not knowing. What was happening sometimes, and what the next step was, and what we were supposed to be doing. Were we doing it right?
Right.
All
You
those
question
kind of things.
that every week.
Yeah.
Are we doing this right?
I still do that today. That's always a tough thing. So, but
And then when we grew that, it's like, okay, Lord, hold up. You're answering that prayer really quickly. What are we supposed to do now? But yeah, it was great.
after that construction debacle that we went through, what happened was we moved into the facility, and 3 weeks after moving into the facility, we had more than twice the number of people
Right.
show up for church that we had ever had.
Right.
And so we went from this just mess that we were in to God just really blessing us, and now we were troubled about a whole new set of circumstances and
Right.
situations, but it all worked out, and God was good and faithful, and now He's
We
brought
had
us
another,
a long way.
Fortunately, we have so many people in the church that do so many things. So we had another contractor in our church
that stepped up to the pump and saved us.
Yeah.
And
Totally saved us.
It was great.
Which was
So that's probably one of the toughest seasons that we've been through.
Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's get to the good stuff. The favorite season of ministry.
You start.
Well, to me, that's really hard because there've been so many good things along the way. I think one of my favorite seasons of ministry is when we moved into our current facility. We had moved around when we were planting the church.
Right.
We had moved around to so many different places, and we had our administrative offices across town. Our students were meeting a half a mile down the road from where the church was.
We were a church
and when we
scattered.
moved, we used to say that our motto was we're a church scattered. And but when we were able to move into this facility and sort of bring everything under one roof, it just felt so good. Right. And things began to click, and we were able to get some new equipment and to refresh. There was sort of this refreshing that took place, and so that was to me was one of the most exciting times, and still is an exciting time because we still see us growing and still see a lot of good things happening. And then, we say season of ministry, but it's for the last year, I guess. I don't know how long exactly, but we've been experiencing a lot of people coming to know Christ.
Right.
And we've seen so many baptisms. And it's kind of an anomaly if you look at the statistics across our denomination and around, it's unbelievable.
Right.
And we're seeing a lot of this life change take place. And so to me, that obviously is the most satisfying thing in the absolute world. I mean, that's
my answer.
Oh, I did.
You did.
You were going to say that?
I was going to say that.
Well, we've been married so long that we just
read each other's minds.
Go ahead.
Mine is, because we talked about this not long ago in our porch time, is every time there's a baptism, I mean, I'm almost choked up now. It just does something to me inside. It's a feeling I can't even explain. Every single time that we baptize someone, the videos, we never stop doing those videos. I mean, we get comments about them all the time because those are that's probably my best moment. One of my top moments in our ministry is when they show a video and someone's baptized. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, the testimonies that come from those videos are just
testimonies incredible. And how that, I used to say this. I used to say I struggled so much when you said I want to go to seminary. I feel like I'm being called. And I say this when I hear those videos and see those videos and see those baptisms. How awful would it have been if I would have said, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do ministry. I don't want to do this. I'm not interested in this. I cannot do this. That if when I got to heaven, if God would say, Nancy, I want to show you. I don't know if I can finish this. I want to show you what could have been if you had surrendered to the ministry. If I had not. I want to show you the life change that could have taken place under Ed's ministry, under your ministry, because God's going to, do his work regardless of us. Right. But I can't even imagine how I would have felt if he'd said, this is what could have been. So every time I see a baptism, and I'm repeating myself, and videos, that is the best. That's the best of times right there. Yeah. That everything that we have struggled through and been through and starting out is all worth it for one person. To see one video and one baptism would have been worth it.
They're always special. Well, that's a great, in this, I was just looking at this question for a moment while you're talking, but it says, what's been your toughest season and your favorite season? But then the next question says, do you wonder what life would be like had you never gone into ministry? And that's probably a good segue into that sort of.
I'm going to say no. If I've ever thought about what life would have been like if we had not gone into ministry, I would say that's not been very much a part of my life. That I don't ever think we could be here, we could be there, we could be doing this. I think it on the other end, like I've already said, I think about if we had not, how awful that I think that would have been.
Yeah, I think that's the same with me a little bit. I don't wonder really what it would be like if we had not gone into ministry. I can't imagine doing this.
No.
But I don't really wonder what it would be like. I sort of focus on what we do now, and it's just what God's called us to do and the path that He has brought us down, the journey He's put us on.
Right.
And so I don't really look around and say, boy, I wish I'd have done that, or I wish I'd have done that.
Well, I don't think it's our occupation.
Yeah,
This is our life.
yeah,
It's every part of our life is ministry.
right.
It's not a separate thing. It is our whole life.
Yeah.
It's the way I see
Well,
it.
I know in the way I'm wired, I get a lot of satisfaction out of, I guess the way I would say it in the shortest little phrase is I like to add value to people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I think, but when I
Well, you've added value to mine.
well, that's sweet. So, but adding value to people's lives. I mean, I think about my life and my education. I mean, I got my bachelor's degree in human resource management.
Right.
Well, help people. That's what I like to do. Got my master's degree in counseling. I like to help people. My doctorate focused in coaching. I love to help people, and so. I feel like what God's called us to do and where He's placed us, that it's the perfect lane for what I'm wired to do, and I know, and I feel like you too, and and as we've come down the road and the way you're wired and all, it's just the perfect lane for us. And so I'm comfortable in the lane. I'm happy in the lane. Wouldn't want to do anything else. When I was in seminary, I remember one time right at the end of seminary, and we were graduating, and the president of the seminary came into the room with all the people that were graduating and gave us a little pep talk, a little speech. You're going out there, congratulations and all that. And he made this statement. He goes, you're sitting here today. Now you've got your theological education. You all are sitting here. You all believed you've been called. If there's anybody here today that feels like there's anything else in life you would rather do or could do, then go do it. Don't do this. And I thought that day, and I still think today, there's nothing in life that I would rather do.
Nothing ever came to mind like, oh yeah, I would rather do this.
Yeah. And in our life, one thing that's a little unique, and it's not this way in everybody's life, it's in ministry, but I had a career. I was a banker for 20 years.
Life experiences.
We had life experiences and a secular career before I came into the ministry. And so, I mean, I can honestly say that I have no desire to go back to that life. I mean, or there's nothing I would want to do other than what I'm doing now.
I never get a feeling of I would rather be doing something else, even on the hard days.
Even on the hard days.
Even on the hard days. Tough times.
Now I'm just going to be perfectly honest. There are times that I've walked outside this office and got in my Jeep and was driving down the road and just looked up and just looked up and said, "God, really?" I've done that a few times. Or boy, this was a great day. Thanks. Right. It was those kind of things. But
well, just one more quick thing is I feel like, and of course, I would certainly feel this way. But I think our church has some of the greatest, I don't like this, I'm getting emotional in this. We have some of the greatest people in our church. I just feel like we do. They are loving, they care about us. I feel like they really do care about us. They're the most giving. They're not selfish. I mean, you see, anytime we stand up there and we say we need this or we need that, it's just met over and beyond.
Yeah.
We just have some of the greatest people that are so easy to love.
Yeah.
And it just...
That's
the way I
that's
feel.
true, and that helps I mean, it helps you realize that you're in the right place, and it makes it comfortable, and
it does,
and it's helpful.
Yeah.
Well, there's that follow-up question. Then, now we've talked about us a lot, and it says, what advice would you give to young leaders / pastors trying to protect their family time? What is priority, family or ministry? And I'll start if you don't mind. Okay. I think any person that I was talking to, a young pastor, is what I think it goes back to something you said earlier. This isn't just a ministry for us; it's our life.
Right.
It is our lives, and you don't, like in a secular job, it's sometimes you can divorce, if you will, your job from your life. You can compartmentalize those things.
Right.
But with what we do, there is no compartmentalizing. No. What we do, it's your life. It never goes away. It's 24/7. And I think the advice that I would give to a young pastor or a young family coming into ministry is to recognize that your calling is your life,
right,
and to embrace it. Right. Just understand that it's all intertwined, and that's the way it's going to be. And take a breath and go in the direction that God's called you, and just embrace it, enjoy it, experience it, and it'll be fulfilling. And if you're legitimately called, it will be.
And I've said this to you many times, is I understand if we have something planned. I don't care if it's our anniversary, if it's one of our birthdays, and something comes up that we have to put that off because we have to go see about someone that's struggling, or there could be a death or a tragedy of some sort. And you say, Nancy, we can't go out for our anniversary on this night, but I am going to take you next week. Don't think I have forgotten. You always make me feel like that I'm number one, even though I know at some periods of our life I'm not. If that makes sense, I accept that and I deal with that. But I want to tell this story real quick, and you're going to remember it. Is I had gone off with two other pastors' wives to a Beth Moore
conference.
Yeah. A Beth Moore conference in Tennessee. And I got deathly ill on the first night with food poisoning. I mean, so ill I should have probably gone to the hospital. And so I'm far away from home, and you called me on Saturday morning, and you said, I'm on my way to Tennessee. I'm going to get somebody else to preach for me on Sunday. This has been 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So we were still relatively small, and you said, I'm coming. I'm going to come see about you. And I said, no, I've got these two pastors' wives, and they're taking good care of me. You go and stay and preach. But the very fact, I've never forgotten it, the very fact that you were willing to put aside preaching that Sunday and that I was your priority, it made it okay that you didn't come and you stayed and preached. You've always made me feel like I was a priority. So any advice I could give to a husband would be, talk about it first. Yeah. We discuss everything. We do. We discuss everything. But you make me feel like I'm a priority even times that I can't be, if that makes any kind of sense.
Well, it does. I think that it goes back to what we were saying a moment ago about how when what we do is our life, it's our life. But what you've got to be careful of is that you balance those things, and that you remember that there are people involved in this. There are people in the church, but there is also your family.
Right.
And that God has placed you in my life. He called us into ministry together. And so you are a priority. Mm-hmm. And obviously the church is a priority, the ministry is a priority, and we love the people in the church, and we want to do a good job. We want to love on them, care about them, all those kind of things. But I'm going to take care of you.
Right.
And you've always taken care of me and
we have small kids. Lauren was grown, grown.
Yeah.
So if you've got small kids, make sure you discuss that, and that we can't do anything this day, but we're going to do it this day. That's so important.
It's important because I think what can happen is if you don't discuss it, and if you don't integrate everybody into the mix and make everybody understand this is our life, and all of a sudden dad is just constantly, well, he's not paying attention to the right things, going to visit, going to do this, going to do that, the other family members can start resenting what's taken place.
Right.
And that's never been an issue with us. But anyway, so I think that answers the question pretty well. And what advice would we give to young leaders and pastors to protect their family and their time is talk about things, always be open, communicate, manage your time effectively. Don't just let the ministry consume all of your time. Take time for your family and that kind of stuff as well.
Right.
And so we've talked about a lot, and these things when you open a card and you read these things, and these things are near and dear to our hearts. So hopefully some of this has been helpful. It gives you maybe a little more insight into our lives. And one of the purposes we would like to see fulfilled in the podcast that we're doing is that you get to know us a little better. Our church is a large church, and we would love for you to get to know us a little better and see a little bit more of our family life and how we feel and do and know things. We want to answer your questions, so be sure to keep sending those questions in. And we hope that today has been helpful, and just hope that there's some benefit in all of this to you guys. And please don't forget that you need to subscribe and to like this and tell your friends about it. And we really appreciate you being with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So for me and Nancy, love you guys. See you next time.